Guys, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Becca and today I'm going to be talking about a whole ton of books that I would love to read before I attend RARE at the end of May. So I recently got tickets to RARE Edinburgh, which is happening at the end of May. It is a romance author and reader festival. They move around. There's like 2 to 3 events per year in different cities around the world. I believe that in 2022 it is Edinburgh and Paris. However, this is a festival that I actually first discovered in 2020 and wanted to attend in 2020, but it has been postponed to 2022. Now there are going to be well over 100 authors at this festival. Now I do read quite a bit of romance and there's also a ton of fantasy romance authors going as well, and some of the authors I have of course read from, but I have been through every single author, and I will put the banner here so you can pause and read it if you would like to. But I've been through every single author, looked into their books and narrowed my list down to ones that sound interesting to me. I'm obviously not going to get to all of these before the end of May, so if you guys in the comments could let me know if you've read any of these, which ones you'd recommend, which ones that you think I will enjoy, then that would be very helpful. So before we get started with this very large list, I would love to introduce you guys to the sponsor of today's video, which is once again the wonderful Ana Luisa, and a big thank you to Ana Luisa for continuing to support my channel. If you guys have never heard of Ana Luisa before, they are a New York based jewelry brand that are committed to making high quality jewelry at affordable prices without harming the planet. Ana Luisa only use sustainable materials in the creation of their jewelry, including recycled gold and lab grown diamonds. They also only release their jewelry in limited run small batches to ensure that all pieces are a little bit more special and also to minimize waste. They were also the first direct-to-consumer jewelry brand to become completely carbon neutral, and they also don't have any unethical factory practices. There are a ton of things that I love about Ana Luisa, ranging from the fact that the posts in a lot of their earrings are titanium, which is perfect for sensitive ears like mine, all the way up to the fact that a lot of their pieces are really simple and elegant and are perfect for layering, but they also have more statement pieces and also chunkier pieces like the necklace that I'm wearing today. They also have a wide range of jewelry styles available on their website, whether that is just like plain gold, they have flowers, they have colored enamel. But my favorite style is the wide range of celestial themed pieces, although I do like my chunky industrial plain gold as well. Ana Luisa pieces are also perfect for gifting, so if you have any occasions coming up, anniversaries, birthdays, if you want to buy a gift or drop some hints, I know that Mother's Day is also coming up in the US, then you can take advantage of their current sale, which is buy one get one at 40% off, which is running to the middle of May. So if you would like to check out Ana Luisa for yourself, you can click on the link at the top of my description and take advantage of that amazing offer. And once again, a big thank you to Ana Luisa for continuing to support my channel. So I split this list down into 3 categories to make it more manageable. The first one is authors that I've already read from and don't need to read any more from / don't want to read any more from. The second is authors whose books I own that I still have yet to read, and the third is authors who I haven't read from before, or like some of the more popular authors that are attending that I haven't read from before. So kicking off with the authors that I've already read from and I don't need to read any more from, we have Raven Kennedy, who is the author of the Plated Prisoner series. This is a fantasy romance King Midas retelling. I've read all 3 books published in this series so far. Raven Kennedy does have other books. There are a ton of books that she's co-written with another author who's going to be at RARE, which is Ive Read. So I may give one of those a try, but Raven also has a Cupid series, which I believe is a lot sweeter than this. Like, this is a darker romance, which I'm not overly interested, but I may get to at some point in the future. It's just not a huge priority. We also have Ive Read, who is a fantasy romance or like paranormal romance author. The book that I've read from Ive Read was Captain of Wolves, which is the first book I think in a 4-book series, and it is a reverse harem fae wolf shifter series. I still don't know if I like reverse harem or not. I've yet to read one that I actually enjoy, but this one was okay, but there wasn't anything in it that made me want to continue. We also have Erin Bedford, who is the author of Death in Her Eyes. This one is about a girl whose mother dies, and when she's at the funeral she's taken by her father and finds out that she's Nephilim and has to attend this Nephilim academy. She has the gift of being able to see when people die. I just didn't like this one very much. I wasn't feeling the romance in it. It had a very YA plotline, but it wasn't YA in tone. Like, this girl is 18 and she was forced into this Nephilim school when she was about to graduate and had to be at the school because her father was making her be there even though she was too old. So it was just very confusing to me why it had to be in this school setting if the character was going to be 18 and it was going to be smutty. Like, the two things just didn't quite go together. I felt like they've been forced together so that it could be like a smutty school romance. And then the final author that I've read from, and I don't think I'm reading any more from, is K.A. Knight, who is the author of Den of Vipers. This one, once again, is a reverse harem, but it's a mafia romance and it's done the rounds. Everyone knows what Den of Vipers is about at this point. There's like BDSM and knife play in it, so it gained a lot of attention for being like extreme. I thought this was too long and it had very minimal plot, and then when the plot wrapped up it went on for an extra 100 pages with just a series of back-to-back sex scenes and then a really ridiculous epilogue. So yeah, you know what, the smut wasn't that bad in that. I just thought that it was really long and boring. For the authors where I own books by them that I've still yet to read, there are some of them where I have read at least one book by them or a few books, but I own more that I haven't read yet. So we'll start off with those. The first one being Amanda Boucher, who I've actually interviewed on my channel before, and I have read the first book in the King Killer Chronicles series. This one is following a girl called Kat, who is a soothsayer in a circus, and in this world, to control a portion of the land you typically have to have magic, and this guy called Griffin finds Kat. His family own territory but they don't have any magic, so he is looking for somebody with powerful magic to help his family secure the hold on the territory that they have. So he essentially kidnaps Kat, and we find out throughout the course of the book that Kat is actually hiding some things about her past. Really enjoyed this, have just not continued the series yet. So I would like to read Breath of Fire, which is the one that I own, and then possibly the third book to finish out the trilogy. There is a spin-off series to this coming in, I think, October this year, so I would like to be caught up on the original trilogy before that is released. But I also have Night Chaser, which is the first book in Amanda Boucher's sci-fi fantasy romance series as well. We also have Amelia Hutchins, who is quite a popular fae romance author with this series, The Fae Chronicles. I've read the first book, Fighting Destiny. I didn't love it. The fairy magic in here is very dependent on sex, and I didn't like the way that it works. But in this one, we are following a witch called Sin, who is going to be the body double of the fiance of the Prince of the Dark Fae because people are trying to assassinate her. Didn't love it, but I did get the sequel, Taunting Destiny, because there was something about it that made me want to continue. And then Amelia Hutchins also has another series which is called The Legacy of the Nine Realms, which looks like something that I would be more into than this. This is like contemporary fantasy, but I am just basing that pretty much off the cover. Another popular fairy romance author is C.L. Wilson, who is the author of the Tyrant Soul series. I've read the first two books in this series, which is Lord of the Fading Lands and Lady of Shadows. This one, King of Sword and Sky, has been on my Goodreads currently reading for over a year now. I think actually it might have been last April. I kind of just put it down and never returned to it. I remember exactly where I'm up to, like I remember what was going on, but this one is more of a kind of your stereotypical big, strong, powerful warrior fae king and like gentle, mild, healing woman romance, which isn't really my vibe, and that's kind of why I lost steam with this series. But I would like to at least finish this one out because if nothing else I can get it off my currently reading shelf on Goodreads. The plot of this series is that the fae are dying out and the fae king asks for the answer to how he can save his people, and he is shown a vision of a human woman called Elisetta, and he's very confused about how this human girl is going to be able to save the fae. We also have Karina Halley, the author of Black Sunshine. This is a contemporary paranormal romance about a girl who's been raised by witches but she doesn't know they're witches, and on her 25th birthday she's kidnapped by a big, dark, powerful vampire and finds out that her parents that raised her aren't actually her parents and they killed her original parents that are vampires. This one just didn't really have much plot, so I didn't love it. It focused a lot on the stages of transition into a vampire, but it didn't have like the stereotypical vampirism. Like the rules are different in here, which is fine, but I feel like it didn't take the time to explain them considering they varied so much from typical vampire lore. But it is only a duology, and I do have the sequel, The Blood is Love, which is actually quite short, so I do want to finish this up. Along with Raven Kennedy, the most exciting author in attendance for me is Laura Thalassa, who is of course the author of one one of my favorite fairy romance series ever, The Bargainer. Absolutely obsessed with that series. But she's also the author of the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse series, which I have yet to read. The fourth book is out now, but I don't own it yet. But this one is like apocalyptic fantasy romance about the world ending, and the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse are coming to like bring about the end of the world. Each book follows a different one of the horsemen. So the final one is death, the first one's pestilence, second is war, and the third is famine, and each one of them meets a human woman and falls in love with her. And then the few that I haven't read from before that I own books by, we have Dorinda Jones, who is a popular paranormal romance author, I think. I've had these for ages. I got them from a charity shop many years ago and have just never read them. Because I got them secondhand at different times, I have two books in the series that don't even follow on from each other. I have book 1, which is First Grave on the Right, and I also have book 5, which is Fifth Grave Past the Light. All I know about this series is that it's about a private investigator called Charlie Davidson, who's also a Grim Reaper. I also have Trickery by Jane and Eve and Jane Washington. It is Jane Washington who's in attendance at RARE, and I don't know much about this one either, aside from that it is about a young woman who's in servitude to the gods. Another one that I've ordered from Waterstone, so should be with me very soon, and I do plan on reading it very soon, is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry, which I believe in the UK is called something like You and Me on Vacation. This was recommended to me by Aaron from Booked and Busy. I think she said it was her favorite romance of last year, and it's friends to lovers, which is why I'm interested. But the kind of tagline for this book is 2 best friends, 10 summer trips, 1 last chance to fall in love. So I think the book maybe flips between timelines, but I know that it definitely follows them on 10 summer vacations across the years. So you see their friendship build, which I'm assuming eventually will turn into some sort of romantic relationship. And the final one for this category, I've ordered it from Waterstones, but it hasn't arrived yet, and that is Savage Lands by Stacey Marie Brown. This has been recommended a lot alongside Fortuna Swan, which is why I think I'm gonna really like it. And it is also a fairy romance, so I don't know very much about this. When I've seen it in recommendation videos alongside some of my favorite fantasy romance, I've just kind of decided I'm going to pick it up. But I do know that it's fae. It is possibly apocalyptic, but also fantasy, and it takes place 20 years after the barrier between the like normal human realm and the other world fell in the Fae Wars, and at least the first book takes place in Budapest. I'm really excited for this one, and I think it's one that I'm definitely going to prioritize reading before RARE. And then by far the longest list is the authors that are in attendance that I have never read anything by. Now luckily a lot of these are on like Kindle Unlimited, so I can get access to them without having to spend a whole ton of money on paperbacks. And then the ones that I like, if I do manage to get through this list, which we all know not a chance in hell reading all of these, but if I do like them, I can get paperbacks to take with me. I did spend an afternoon going through every single author in this list on Goodreads and selecting things that sounded interesting to me or things I had heard of but hadn't read yet. And I also enlisted the help of Madison Mary from Princess of Paperback to help me narrow some of this down. So if you don't know Madison, she is a fellow booktuber. She reads a little bit of fantasy, but over the last couple of years she's like started leaning heavily into romance, so she's my go-to person for romance, and I definitely recommend checking her out if you're a romance fan, especially like mafia romance. I think Madison's been reading a whole sort of motorcycle club romance recently, but just she's my go-to for romance. I know very minimal information about the majority of the books on this part of the list, but the first one that Madison recommended to me is Crow by A. Zavarelli. This one is the first book in the Boston Underworld series, and it is a Irish mafia romance. Madison also recommended Lessons in Corruption by Gianna Darling, which is the first book in the Fallen Men series. I believe she also said that this is a good entry book for motorcycle club romance, and it says that it is a motorcycle club student teacher romance. If I wanted to dip my toes into historical romance, Madison recommended Erica Ridley, specifically The Viscount's Tempting Minx, which is the first book in the Dukes of War series, and she recommended this one because it's only 150 pages, so it's like a nice easy quick one to get through to see if I like it. And for a longer book from Erica Ridley, Madison recommended The Duke Heist, which is the first book in the Wild Winchester series. I don't like historical fiction typically, but I've never tried Regency romance, and there's something about it that is tempting me because I do like, or I did like when I read it many years ago, the Lux series by Anna Godberson, which I guess would be like YA Regency romance. And in terms of television, I do like Bridgerton, which I think would also be, is that Regency romance? Does Regency romance just mean historical romance or like a specific time period? You'll have to let me know because it's an area that I'm really not familiar with. But the thing that's kind of made me think I want to try Regency romance romance recently is that one of my favorite romance tropes is mutual pining, and because of the historical nature of Regency romance and the fact that it's like propriety and like courting and all of that kind of stuff, I've heard that mutual pining plays a big part in it. One recommended by Madison that was already on my radar because I know how popular it is The Deal by Elle Kennedy, which is the first book in the Off-Campus series. I don't really know what this is about. I know that it's a sports romance, which is why I haven't shown interest in it previously, because I don't like sport. I like fitness and like working out and exercise culture, but not sport. Like sport just does not interest me at all, which is why I've never been drawn to sports romance. So if there's any time that I'm going to really show interest in this series, it's now when Elle Kennedy is going to be at Rare. And then the final one that Madison recommended to me is one that I have heard of because I remember it going around BookTube a couple of years ago, but that is A Lesson in Thorns by Sierra Simone, which is the first book in the Thornchapel series. And what I remember about this is that it is a spicy polyamorous romance. So for the rest of the ones that I found that sound interesting, I'm a little bit unsure about this one. The synopsis sounds interesting to me, but I'm unsure about the tropes, and that one is Ruthless Crown by Amanda Richardson, which is the first book in the Ruthless Royals duology. This one follows a girl who is the stepdaughter of the headmaster of this prestigious academy, and there's this group of boys who like terrorize the school. One of them is her stepbrother, so the son of the headmaster, and it is a high school bully reverse harem romance. I like bully romances. Still not sure about reverse harem, but I might give it a go, and it's only 240 pages, which is good because it means it won't take me long, but bad because my issue with reverse harem is that I like a slow burn and sexual tension, and in a book with so many love interests, that's normally lacking for me, so it being only 240 pages means that it'll be even more like abbreviated. Okay. One that I do want to read but has very little to do with the actual synopsis of the book is The Vampire Wants a Wife by Andy M. Long. So this has like a pretty cute cover. It's the first book in the Supernatural Dating Agency, which is a pretty long series. Each book has a different supernatural creature. So we have like a devil, a seer, a mermaid, and I don't know, they seem cute. But when I was looking into the authors and the books, I found out that according to Goodreads, this author lives in Sheffield, which is only like an hour and a half away from me. It's not very far at all. But it says in the synopsis, welcome to Withensea and the Supernatural Dating Agency. Now Withensea is a very small, tiny, shitty seaside town that is about 15 minutes away from where my dad lives, and I don't live all that far away from my dad. So I have to read this because it seems like such a bizarre place to set a romance, or any book really, because when I tell you I've driven through that place so many times and remember literally nothing about it. Like my dad lives in the middle of nowhere as it is, but this is such like a backwater obscure seaside town that is so close to me that it has to be done. And I'll probably go to Withensea. There's nothing there. Like if you Google Withensea, the main things to do that come up include a lighthouse museum and a bunker. Like, nothing there, but I'm intrigued. Another author that I'm excited about that's going to be there is B.B. Easton, who is the author that wrote the book that the TV show Sex Life is based on. I believe that Sex Life is specifically based on B.B. Easton's memoir, which is called 44 Chapters About 4 Men. I was torn about whether I wanted to read this initially because I love the show, but the book's a memoir, it's not fiction. But now as B.B. Easton is going to be at Rare, I think I definitely want to read it because I love Sex Life so much. It's in the same kind of wheelhouse as things like 365 Days, I guess 50 Shades of Grey, although I haven't seen the movie. I've read the books, but when I was 18 I really didn't like them. The Sex Life show is about a woman who's like pretty happily married with 2 kids, but her sex life has kind of died. So she's reminiscing on when she was younger and she was dating this really hot guy. They had really good sex, the relationship was really passionate, but he wasn't the kind of person that you settled down with. Like he wasn't reliable in that way. And then that man that she was with when she was younger turns back up in the city where she lives, and he says that he wants her back, and she has to decide whether she wants the comfort and the security that her husband provides, which is why she married him after having a string of like tumultuous relationships, or whether she needs the passion and the fire that this other guy provided, even though that relationship would lack stability. 2 authors who are going to be at Rare are Caroline Peckham and Susan Valenti, the authors of the Zodiac Academy series. Now this is already on my TBR. It was my Patreon pick for March, and I think by the time you're seeing this video I will have already read it, so it's definitely on my TBR. I'm definitely going to read it, but I might read a few more books in the series if I end up liking the first one because they're both at Rare. Zodiac Academy I do know very little about. I just know it's incredibly hyped, but I know that it's a fae romance and it follows twins who are both Geminis, and they go to this school where the houses of the school are separated by like what zodiac you are. One that I want to read because Ashley from A Frolic Through Fiction read it and enjoyed it is The Power of Hades, which is the first book in the Hades Trial series, and it is by Eliza Rain and Rose Wilson, and I know that Eliza Rain is at Rare. This one is a Greek myth retelling about a girl who's kidnapped by Zeus and is forced to participate in a series of trials to become queen of the underworld, which will mean that she will marry Hades. A popular paranormal romance author is Kelly Armstrong. I see Kelly Armstrong's books everywhere, but the series I want to read is the Otherworld series, and even though I see those books in charity shops all the time, the series is so long that I never find the first book. But the first book is Bitten, and I believe that this entire series, I imagine, is werewolf romances, but I imagine there's a greater plot there as well. There's 23 books in this series apparently, and 13 of them are primary works, but then Kelly Armstrong also has another series which according to Goodreads is more popular than that one, which is called The Darkest Powers. One that was recommended to me by Raven Kennedy is Sea of Ruin by Pam Godwin. I think Raven said that this was a really fun pirate romance, which I've been looking for more pirate vibes since I read The Live Ship Traders, so having a romantic element in there just seems really fun. But I haven't really looked at the synopsis of this, I just recognized it as the one that Raven recommended to me. And then the final one is one that just looked really fun, and that is Remedial Rocket Science, which is the first book in the chemistry lesson series by Susanna Nix, and this one is a romance between a computer geek and a billionaire bad boy, which sounds like a whole ton of fun, and it was the bad boy part of the billionaire bad boy that really sold it to me, and then also the kind of parallels between a computer nerd and a billionaire bad boy. I have to find out what that's about. So that was a whole ton of books that I want to attempt to read before the end of May. Please down in the comments, especially for that last section of authors who I haven't read from, don't own any books by, let me know if you've read any of those and which ones you guys would recommend, because some of them I'd never even heard of before I went through all of the authors to make this list, and I know that I'm not going to get to all of them, so I could probably do with a little bit of guiding in the right direction so that I'm not potentially wasting my time on things that aren't very good. But that is about it for this video, guys. Once again, a huge thank you to Ana Luisa for sponsoring this video, and if you would like to check out Ana Luisa for yourself, please do not hesitate to click on that link right at the top of my description box to take advantage of their big buy one get one 40% off sale. But aside from that, guys, please don't forget to like this video if you liked it and subscribe if you wanna. You head to my description box, you'll find a link to my Goodreads, Instagram and Twitter if you'd like to follow me on any of those, as well as a link to my Bookish Candle website, the Instagram for that, and a 10% off discount code. But that's it from me today, guys. Bye!
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you will go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.